Breaking news. In July, an Iowa farmer's TikTok video of a telephone pole-sized bone ignited a viral storm, with millions debating proof of ancient giants versus a clever hoax. Photos spread across TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram, echoing 19th century tales of giant skeletons like the infamous Cardiff giant scam from Misidentified. Mastodon finds two AI-fueled myths racking up views. These oversized bones keep resurfacing, so what are we really unearthing? If you've clicked this video, chances are you've seen those same headlines, the thumbnails of enormous bones half buried in farmland soil, the claims of suppressed discoveries too shocking for science. Tonight, we're chasing that mystery not with speculation, but with the real, strange history of giant bones, and the truth is more haunting, more human, and perhaps more dangerous than the myth. Imagine the scene: a lone farmer, dusty boots in a cornfield, stumbles on something protruding from the soil. It looks like wood at first, gnarled and long, but when he scrapes the dirt away, the contour reveals itself a smooth curve, ivory-like, massive. He films it, shaky hands holding the phone, and within hours, TikTok is ablaze. The captions scream, "A bone bigger than a man." Replies pour in, believers convinced it's proof of the Nephilim, skeptics calling it a mastodon femur, pranksters shouting AI-generated hoax, and in that cacophony of voices, the ancient past collides with modern myth-making. But this isn't the first time such a storm has brewed. We've been finding giant bones for centuries, and with every discovery comes the same question: who or what did they belong to? Step back in time to the late 1600s in France, when a peasant uncovered what he thought was the thigh bone of a giant. The local scholars rushed in, declaring it belonged to the fabled race of biblical giants. But the truth, as later studies revealed, was far more grounded: the fossilized femur of a prehistoric elephant. To the untrained eye, scale alone was enough to spark belief in giants. To early science, still young and fumbling, bones became blank canvases onto which we painted our fears and myths. Fast forward to 1725, when massive teeth and bones were discovered near Albany, New York. The colonists whispered of monstrous men, perhaps even remnants of a lost race. Only later would we understand these bones as mastodon remains, a creature that once thundered across the very soil those farmers tilled. Yet the legend of giants rooted itself deeper than fact could ever dig out. By the 19th century, America was in the throes of a giant craze. Newspapers across the young nation printed story after story of enormous skeletons unearthed in mounds and fields. Some reports claimed bones measuring 8, 10, even 12 feet long. Ministers preached of Nephilim giants from Genesis. Entertainers like P.T. Barnum stoked the fire, showcasing curiosities and replicas to paying crowds. The most famous of them all? The Cardiff giant of 1869, a 10-foot stone figure discovered in a farmer's field in upstate New York. For weeks, people lined up, convinced they were beholding proof of a lost race. But it was all a hoax, carved from gypsum, buried and dug up as a spectacle. Yet the lesson is clear: giant bones captured imaginations so powerfully that even fakes became relics. And still, beneath the layers of hoaxes and exaggerations, there were real bones, enormous bones, bones that dwarfed any man, bones that science itself struggled to explain in the early years. In 1806, when Lewis and Clark returned from their westward expedition, they carried reports of mammoth remains, fueling the notion that colossal beasts and perhaps colossal men once roamed the continent. Native American oral traditions spoke of giant beings locked in battles with thunderbirds, mythologies interwoven with the fossilized remains of mastodons, mammoths, and giant ground sloths scattered across the plains. Every culture that stumbled upon these bones had to answer the same question: who could have left them behind? And so the idea of giants walked hand in hand with the bones themselves. But let's pause here. Why do giant bones keep appearing even now, in an age of DNA testing, carbon dating, and paleontology? Why do headlines still capture us with whispers of suppressed discoveries? The answer lies not only in the bones but in us, because these bones are real, massive, incomprehensible remains of ancient animals that once ruled Earth. Mastodons, mammoths, sauropod dinosaurs, giant ground sloths, their skeletons tower over us in museums. But when they are pulled raw from the ground, stripped of labels, they look alien, unfamiliar. A femur the size of a telephone pole doesn't look like it belongs to an elephant when you've never seen one. It looks like it belongs to something beyond human imagination. Something bigger. In the 21st century, this mix of awe and misunderstanding is amplified by technology. A blurry video, a well-framed photo, and suddenly the world believes we've uncovered a lost truth. AI now blurs the line further, generating photorealistic giant skeletons staged in deserts, quarries, or museum basements. These images rack up millions of views, shared by believers convinced of a conspiracy to hide evidence of giants. Meanwhile, genuine paleontologists quietly toil away, unearthing true giants Argentinosaurus, a dinosaur whose femur alone stretches over 7 feet. Paraceratherium, a hornless rhino that stood taller than a giraffe. These were real, colossal beings whose bones are mistaken, reinterpreted, or deliberately miscast as evidence of human giants. But behind the fascination with bones is a deeper hunger, the need for wonder. We live in a world mapped by satellites, explained by textbooks. Our mysteries shrinking daily, and yet when a farmer pulls a massive femur from the soil, that childlike awe returns. Could there still be something hidden, something forbidden, something greater than ourselves waiting beneath the earth? Science offers answers, but myth offers meaning. That is why, time and again, giant bones resurface in both fields and feeds because they feed a part of us that doesn't want the world to be small. Picture a museum hall at night, shadows cast across the towering skeletons. A sauropod looms, ribs arching like cathedral windows, vertebrae stacked like stone pillars. To a child, it feels like standing in the presence of a god. To an untrained eye, to a farmer or a peasant centuries ago, pulling even one of these bones from the ground would confirm what myths had always said. Giants were real. That perception doesn't vanish just because science corrected it. It lingers, it haunts, and in the echo chambers of the internet, it explodes anew with every viral headline. And yet, there's something else we must reckon with, because some bones have been misused, twisted into symbols of power or tools of deception. In the late 1800s, newspapers across the Midwest frequently discovered giant skeleton stories so common they became almost routine. Many of them were fabricated, sold as entertainment, or pushed as evidence of racial superiority by pseudoscientists. The bones of mastodons and mammoths were sometimes paraded as relics of a superior ancient race, a distortion that fueled harmful ideologies. Bones, whether real or faked, became propaganda, and in that dark truth lies a warning. Myths are never harmless, so why do giant bones keep appearing? Because Earth itself is littered with them. Fossil beds stretch across continents, packed with remains of animals so large they strain belief. Every time erosion, construction, or farming reveals them, the cycle begins again: wonder, confusion, myth, and debate. But there's another reason. We need them, we crave them. In a world where mysteries are dwindling, giant bones remind us that deep time still holds secrets, that we are small, fragile, temporary. They force us to imagine worlds where monsters walk the earth, worlds both terrifying and majestic. Now imagine the Iowa bone again. The farmer films it, posts it, the internet explodes. Days later, experts confirm it's a mastodon femur, perhaps 13,000 years old, preserved in glacial soil. Not a giant human, not a Nephilim, not proof of suppressed histories. But does that end the story? No, because by then, millions have seen it, argued over it, made it a symbol of their beliefs. The truth is documented in a quiet journal article, but the myth is etched into culture, passed along as what they don't want you to know. That's the paradox of giant bones. They belong equally to science and to myth, and they always will. So next time you see a headline, a viral post, a photograph of an impossibly large skeleton unearthed from the earth, remember this: yes, the bones are real. They belong to mastodons, mammoths, dinosaurs, ground sloths, creatures so magnificent they don't need exaggeration. But also remember why the myths exist, because we long for giants, for stories that make us feel small and the world vast. And in a way, maybe those myths serve a purpose. They remind us not to shrink the world into something tame. They remind us that bones are more than evidence, they are echoes, calling us to imagine. So why do giant bones keep appearing? Because Earth is full of them, because history is heavy with them, because we need them, and as long as bones lie buried, waiting to break the surface, giants real or imagined will walk among us. And if you want to keep stepping into these forgotten worlds with me, uncovering truths stranger than myths, don't forget to subscribe to Extinct Bones, because the past isn't done with us, not yet. So if you want to keep uncovering the forgotten worlds where myth and science collide, make sure you subscribe to the Extinct Bones channel because the past still has secrets waiting for us.